Episode 188. This old man Hua truly couldn't see anything remarkable about Han Li, so he offered a couple of perfunctory compliments. But then he recalled the recent rumors surrounding this young man. After a moment's hesitation, he reached a withered hand into his robe, pulled out a small white bottle, and handed it to Han Li.
This is a bottle of heart-protecting pills I carefully prepared. I wouldn't claim they cure every ailment, but they handle minor injuries and illnesses with ease. Consider them a gift for you, Han, to keep on hand for protection.
The moment the old man said this, Han Li immediately felt the envy and jealousy radiating from the Qin family juniors behind him, while Huanan and Huafeng also showed a flicker of surprise. Clearly, this heart-protecting pill was quite renowned. As a Foundation establishment cultivator, Han Li naturally had no regard for immortals pill, but at this moment he couldn't very well refuse the gesture, so, with a show of reluctance, he hesitated before accepting it.
Nephew Han, this heart-protecting pill is brother Hua's secret recipe. He rarely parts with it. For him to offer it as a greeting gift today, he's being truly generous.
Qin Yan knew Han Li wouldn't give this pill a second thought, but he still put in a good word for his friend, hoping the old man surnamed Hua would leave a favorable impression on Han Li. The old man shot Han Li a few curious glances, wondering what Qin Yan meant by saying that in front of him.
I gave that precious pill to this young man purely out of respect for Qin Yan.
Just as the old man was about to ask a question in confusion, a sharp, piercing voice rang out.
The new king arrives.
Instantly, the clamor in the hall died away, and everyone fixed their gaze on the side door at one end of the room. From the side door, 4 maids stepped out first, taking their places on either side of the main seat. Then, a man and a woman strolled out, unhurried and composed. The man was a middle-aged figure in his 40s, with a few inches of short beard. His square face and tiger-like eyes carried an imposing air that commanded respect without effort. The other was a stunningly beautiful woman of 23 or 24, dressed in palace attire with a long train sweeping the floor. Seeing this, those seated rose one after another to bow to the man and woman.
Good day, Your Highness.
Good day, madam.
Greetings, Your Highness. Since this young woman wasn't the new king's lawful wife, but merely a favored concubine of late, these people could only address her as Madam.
You are all my good friends. No need to be so formal. Come, sit down.
This new king's way of speaking was a far cry from the impression his appearance gave. The way he spoke was straightforward and easygoing, making it impossible not to like him. His favored concubine merely smiled a bewitching smile, saying nothing at all.
The others exchanged a knowing smile, then took their seats as instructed.
I'm a straightforward man, so I'll speak plainly.
The new king's words immediately set off a chorus of chatter among the crowd. Your Highness, please speak your mind.
That's right. The prince and I go way back.
Indeed.
Clearly, some were speaking from the heart, while others were just shamelessly buttering up the new king.
I invited you all here today for 2 reasons. First, my beloved Qing'er has recovered from her strange illness, and by my nature, I must celebrate such an occasion. Second, I have a tremendous boon I wish to bestow upon you all. As for whether you have the fortune to claim it, that depends on your own fate.
The new king's words caught everyone completely off guard, leaving them exchanging bewildered glances.
See, Qing'er? Just as I predicted, everyone's a bit taken aback, aren't they?
The new king didn't take offense. Instead, he turned to his beautiful concubine and began chatting and laughing with her.
Your Highness, anyone would be surprised to hear that. This reaction is only natural.
The new king chuckled at the woman's words, stroked the short beard on his chin, then turned back to explain himself to the somewhat embarrassed crowd.
Ha! Don't be puzzled, everyone. Here's what happened. It was a newly arrived master at the manor who cured Qing'er's strange illness. This master can summon wind and rain, swallow fire and breathe ice, a true immortal among men. And after curing Chinger's illness, this living immortal saw at a glance that my youngest son possessed a spiritual root capable of comprehending immortal arts. So he took my Lizi as his disciple. Soon my son will follow him to cultivate immortality and learn the Tao.
At this point, the new king could no longer hide his joy, a smug expression spreading across his face. At that moment, a portly man in the hall cried out involuntarily,
"A cultivator, a legendary cultivator."
That one sentence immediately stirred up the crowd in the hall. While cultivators remain deeply mysterious to the mortal world, the people in this hall were no ordinary commoners. They had all heard rumors one way or another. Some even had ancestors who had dealings with rogue cultivators. After all, the persistent rumor that cultivators guarded the imperial palace only deepened their reverence. The guests in the hall suddenly heard that such a living immortal had arrived at the new prince's residence, and instantly most of their faces lit up with extreme excitement. Qin Yan's heart jolted at those words. Unbidden, his gaze slid toward Han Li. Han Li, however, remained utterly composed, his expression betraying nothing. Qin Yan didn't dare to ask any more questions and could only continue listening to the new king's next words. Seeing everyone stunned by his words, the new king chuckled and continued.
Of course I asked this exalted personage, and he did admit to being a cultivator. Moreover, with my deliberate invitation, he agreed to stay at my residence for several months to instruct me in some health-preserving arts. From my conversations with him, I learned that this immortal had descended specifically to seek out disciples with the right fate for cultivation. Upon learning this, I immediately thought of my good friends, so I called over your sons and daughters as well. This immortal master accepts both male and female disciples. In a moment, I'll invite Master Wu out to meet everyone. As for whether you have that fortune, that depends on your own immortal fate. What?
A cultivator.
I hear cultivators can live for a good few hundred years, and they know all kinds of magic and spells too.
That's right.
If the earlier words had merely stirred envy among those present, the new king's following speech was like dropping a massive pie right on their heads, striking them with a mix of surprise and delight, and instantly sparking a chorus of grateful acclaim. Han Li heard this, his face still wearing that dull, wooden expression, but inwardly he was growing a little curious. He'd thought, when the new king mentioned the living immortal, that he'd finally found a lead on those demonic cultivators. But the moment he heard that this so-called immortal was planning to take on disciples en masse, he immediately sensed something was off.
What infiltrator out to sabotage another nation would be so reckless as to draw attention? That's just asking to be a target. Unless this cultivator is...
Just as Han Li was thinking this, the living immortal finally made his grand entrance into the hall. He wore a gray Taoist robe, with hair and beard as white as snow, yet his complexion was as rosy as a baby's, the very image of a legendary immortal. With an image like that, more than half the crowd was already convinced before the immortal master had even cast a single spell. When Han Li finally got a good look at this so-called immortal master, he was left speechless for a long moment. This was clearly just a minor cultivator at the 5th or 6th layer of qi refinement. Han Li could probably crush him with a single finger. Yet this very master was surrounded and hemmed in by these mortals of considerable standing. Those people kept flattering him, hoping the old immortal would show mercy and take their children and nephews under his wing. Seeing this, Qin Yan, who stood before Han Li, couldn't help but feel a stirring of temptation. The younger disciples behind him wore expressions of sheer anxiety, terrified that if they arrived too late, all the immortal fortunes would be snatched up by others. Just as Qin Yan was hesitating, Han Li's voice suddenly reached his ears.
Rest assured, this man is not of the demonic path. As for whether you want your descendants to take him as their master, that's up to you. I'm merely ensuring the safety of your Qin clan. Still, this immortal master's cultivation.
Qin Yan was taken aback. He quickly looked around, but it seemed no one else had heard those words.
Qin, my friend, why not go before the immortal and let the younger ones test their fate? No wonder I couldn't cure that strange illness. They worked a miracle. So they're cultivators.
With those words, the old man paid no further attention to Qin Yan and his group, instead shuffling over to the white-haired Taoist. His grandson and granddaughter naturally followed close behind. Qin Yan, seeing that the usually steady old man Hua was so eager, finally felt his resolve waver. He could tell from Han Li's tone that the man had nothing but contempt for this so-called immortal master, but still, he was a real cultivator willing to take on disciples. As for whether this so-called immortal master was actually skilled or not, well, he couldn't afford to worry about that anymore.
Honestly, I had thought about having my descendants apprentice under Han Li, but after spending this time with him, I've come to realize he has absolutely no interest in taking on disciples. There's no point in forcing it. Speaking of which, when my father was still alive, he once told me that shortly after the Qin family first struck it rich, that immortal Li Yuanhua came to our estate to see if any of the younger generation had the aptitude for immortality. But unfortunately, not a single one possessed that fortune, so he had no choice but to leave disappointed. From then on, whenever this immortal Master Li visited the Qin family, he never again brought up the matter of taking on disciples.
According to immortal Li, his bond with the Qin family was limited to a single generation. The younger members of the clan would never be his disciples again. Now that another chance at immortality has appeared before us, the Qin family naturally has to give it our all.
With that thought, Qin Yan made up his mind, called out to a few of his juniors, and walked over as well. Han Li watched this scene without saying a word.
Since he insisted on seeking a master even after I warned him, I won't meddle further. Still, I never really paid attention to whether those young masters and misses of the Qin manor actually have spirit roots. But among the mortals of the secular world, those with a spirit root are 1 in 10,000, truly pitifully rare.
Just as Han Li was thinking this, he noticed 2 of the Qin family disciples who had been crowding around Master Wu alongside Qin Yan suddenly turn back and flash him mocking grins, their faces smug and triumphant, as if they were laughing at him. Han Li blinked, then let out a silent chuckle. Clearly, since Qin Yan hadn't called Han Li over to test his immortal fate, these few assumed that old Master Qin still favored them the most in his heart, hence their smugness. Han Li shook his head to himself, then dismissed them from his thoughts, letting his gaze wander across the hall. By now, only a handful remained seated, barely 6 or 7 people. Most of them were loners who hadn't brought any juniors at all. At that moment, every single one of them wore an expression of deep regret.